My name's Jimmy Stewart. I'm the president of the Ohio Gas Association, located in Dublin, Ohio. We represent most of the state's largest LDCs, local distribution companies, from Dominion and Columbia on the larger end, along with Duke and Vectren, all the way down to some of the local gas utilities that might only have a couple thousand customers.
Switching.
Well, I actually have been driving a natural gas fueled vehicle since February, and there are a lot of benefits to it. Obviously, the fuel is much cheaper at the handful of stations here in central Ohio. Prices tend to range anywhere from about $1.80 a gallon equivalent to about $2 a gallon equivalent. The fuel burns a lot cleaner, and the fuel is all from North America, almost exclusively from the United States. So there's something to be said for that as well. There have been a couple attempts in recent decades to kind of get the natural gas fueled vehicles off the ground without much success, primarily because in the past the price of natural gas would go up whenever the price of oil would go up. In the last 3 or 4 years, that's been different. The price of natural gas has actually stayed the same or actually gotten lower, while the price of oil and gasoline and propane have gone up considerably. So all the projections I've seen seem to suggest that natural gas is going to stay cheap for a very long time, and the price of oil will continue to go up or fluctuate wildly. So with that having been said, the price stability of natural gas is a really good thing going forward, but in the past it didn't always exist. Part of the problem right now, particularly in Ohio, is that there's not much refueling infrastructure. We think that there may be some proposals coming up in the future that perhaps some of our members could be involved in that might involve perhaps basically a rider that could help fund some of the infrastructure improvements that are necessary. Sometimes that infrastructure improvement could be a higher pressure line to the establishment that's using it. Sometimes that could mean the actual refueling equipment that can run into the hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars. So those sort of things could be helpful. The price of the vehicles themselves are not that much more expensive than a traditionally gasoline or diesel fuel vehicle. And over the lifespan, the costs tend to actually be lower because the fuel and the maintenance costs on a natural gas vehicle tend to be less than those of diesel and gasoline powered fuel vehicles. I think, actually I know that there are a lot of legislators who have been looking at this very issue. Certainly the Public Utilities Commission has been looking at it as well. Some states have done things like tax incentives for purchase of the vehicles or tax incentives for building the infrastructure, and that is certainly a possibility. It's certainly up to my former colleagues in the legislature what they ultimately decide to go with. But as I've been talking about with some of our members, that perhaps a rider could be used on utility bills to create a fund that could then be used to make necessary infrastructure improvements for folks looking, fleet customers who are looking to put in a refueling infrastructure. Sometimes you might need a higher pressure line or a line extension, and that cost alone could run into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is a huge impediment for a fleet customer looking at making that switch. So that's one possibility. It's not to say that one or the other is going to be the case, but I think there are a lot of options that could be discussed, and that's one of them.